Alright, for today's Lightroom tutorial we're going to look at how you can use two of these adjustments in the special adjustments bar to make your clouds pop just that little bit. The image on the screen here now is one of the raw files from a recent trip I did to the Kalahari, and we had a very overcast day. Now there is a bit of texture here which my raw file does show, but I want to pull that out just that little bit to give the image some more life. So the first way we can do this, we're going to go to the gradient adjustment tool, click once, and then it opens up a separate panel underneath. So any adjustments I'm going to make to the gradient I select will be done over here. So as I take my cursor onto the screen, you'll see it turns into a little cross. Once again, there's my arrow, and then it turns into a cross when I take it up. So I'm going to click and hold from the top of the screen. I'm going to drag my gradient over the screen to the area I want to be adjusted. There we go. Now you'll see what we end up with. We've got a line at the top, a line in the middle, and a line right at the bottom here. So where I started drawing my gradient, that'll be 100%. So whatever adjustments I'm going to make on my panel on the right hand side here will be applied 100% at the top here, fades down to 50% in my middle line, and 0 at the bottom. That's why I overlap it down past, because I only want to work on the clouds, but I overlap it just that little bit so that I get at coming the full amount of adjustment made all the way through the clouds. Right, now I want you to keep an eye on the clouds, especially at the top area over here. I'm going to come over to clarity, and I'm going to punch that up to 100% for the purposes of this, so you can see exactly what's happening. Watch those clouds as this bar moves across. You can see it comes to life quite nicely. Right, now what I also want to do, so what clarity does, it just gives me a little bit more contrast on the lines when my dark and light come together. So all the areas here, wherever there's a contrasting area next to each other, it increases that slightly. Now contrast at the top here, what that does, it makes my darks a little bit darker and my lights a little bit lighter. So I'm going to punch that up a little bit as well. Watch the clouds again. Pulling it over, and it comes to life even more. Right, so what I've done again is I've drawn my gradient across, and I've made two different adjustments to that. I can turn off the preview by clicking this tab here. Watch the screen, click once, there's my before, click again, and there's after. So you can see what that does to the image. It just brings those clouds out very nicely. Right, the gradient tool can also be used, for example, from the bottom up, but we'll look at that next time and how you can use your foregrounds and stuff. So there you go, that's the one option. Let me click done there, and I can put them next to each other for you. That's before, that's after. The smallest little detail, and it brings out all those clouds, making that image just look that little bit more alive. You can now keep on going and add another gradient on top and so on and so forth, but just that example will give you an idea. Now I'm going to go back on my left hand side here where my history panel is, and I'm going to come back to where I imported this image, and I'm back to normal now. Right, so there's my history. That's with all the adjustments. You can see the clouds and the imported version, which is my original. Click. So like I said, we're going to look at two options. The second option is the special adjustment brush. Click once, and again it opens up a tool panel which now relates just to this adjustment brush. I click on new, and as I take, now remember when I took my cursor onto the screen with the gradient brush, it became a little arrow. Watch now what happens. Turns into that cursor, which I can then change either smaller or larger. Right, that's the size of my brush with which I'm going to paint. To make it smaller and larger, either roll your mouse wheel, drag up and down on your trackpad on your Mac, or you can use the two block cursors up and down. Right, so I'm going to now paint the area that I want to make the adjustment with. So I click and hold and I paint. What's the problem here? I cannot see where I'm painting. Aha! So to fix that, I click the O button. I press O, and that overlays a color for me, which you can select all down here. I prefer the red. You can now paint. I can see where I'm painting. Right. Remember, there's not painting red on top. This is just showing me the areas that will be affected by the adjustments I make on the right hand side. Right, let me just fade that in a little bit. Okay, could be better, but that's fine. So whatever adjustments I now make over here will be applied to this red area. I'm going to take my red away again by clicking the O button. Click O, and it disappears. So let's make those same adjustments. You can now make the clarity again. Let's push clarity up, and let's push contrast up as well, like we did in the other one. Right, you see it punches quite a bit as well now. I'm going to put that next to the original for you. There we go. You see, this one will punch more. There's my original on the left. This is my special adjustment brush version on the right hand side. This one will punch more. Reason being, if I look at the area that I painted, let me click there, and I click O to show me. Right, the whole area I've painted, whatever adjustments I make here, 100% of that adjustment will be applied to the entire area. Whereas when I use my gradient tool, from the top down, 100% at the top, 0% at the bottom, there's a fading effect that happens. So depending on what your goal is, you have these two wonderful tools now at the top here, the gradient and special adjustments, to make those clouds pop just that little bit. Right, let me show you one more time. There's your before and after. That's the special adjustment brush version. Try it out on those images, and if you have any more questions, give us a shout. Otherwise, we'll be back with more next week.